I think I know all of you, but I'll introduce myself. I'm Neil Drobny. I'm the one who's organized this Bronco Challenge. Appreciate all of you being here to help out in different ways, judges, participants, et cetera. We are missing 2 judges. We have planned for 8, so we have 6, and that's plenty to get through what we have to get through. Sarah Weischer, who was a judge last year, couldn't make it this year. She's ill today. Better news, yesterday, and some of you know this, we had an invitation from the Board of Trustees for the winning team to attend the trustees meeting next week.
Oh, wow.
And make a short presentation about the Bronco Challenge. So you all deserve congratulations for having gotten this far, but unfortunately there can only be one winner. I'm going to turn things over to Beth Smith. She does so many things for the department here that it defies a title. I say she just makes sure all the trains are running on time. There's a lot of trains running these days, and especially today. So Beth, thank you for helping out. She's going to be the MC for the program. Take it from there.
Thank you. Good morning. Welcome to the Bronco Challenge for Sustainable Impact. Whether you are on campus today at the Hayworth College of Business or one of the participants tuning in to the live stream of this event, we are excited to experience this day with you. Programs like the Bronco Challenge for Sustainable Impact could not exist without forward-thinking college and university leadership and generous community partners. So, before we begin the presentations, we want to take a few minutes to introduce some of these leaders and partners who provide vital support to the event. First, the director of the Hayworth Center for Sustainable Business and professor of ethics and sustainability here at the Hayworth College of Business, Tim Palmer.
Yeah, I don't want to be too professorial, but just a couple of things I wanted to mention or talk about. I think that the conversations that we have today are, really critical. I mean, just this morning in today's Gazette was a story about October, or this past month, March, being yet again the hottest month on record. Right? And so we continue to get this news. These are pressing issues. Or in the social side of sustainability, social justice, human rights, even child trafficking issues and child labor issues within Michigan. So these are big deals. And I think that, our students understand that, they get this, and they're really passionate about how do they use their profession, their skills, their intellect to try to think about solutions. And so thank you all for being here. To our students, I know it's a ton of work and this is the end of the semester, but you're committed to it, and I appreciate the work that you put into it. To the students, just a kind of a quick housekeeping thing, we'll have 3 teams that are going to win some award money today, which means that I need some documentation filled out, I need W-9s filled out, and so on. And so I'm gonna, and Beth doesn't know this yet, but she'll have the forms in her office. So I need to get all winning team members. If you want to get a check, you need to fill out a form so we can get that to you. So please don't forget to do that. To our judges and to our sponsors, just really grateful that you're here today. And I wanted to share with you a really brief story about how critical activities like these can be. And this is just one small example, is that one of our award winners last year, he wasn't in a winning team, but he actually was an engineering major. And not only because of the Bronco Challenge, but that I think was a big part of it, chose to not follow his traditional career path through engineering, but has just recently been accepted into both Columbia and Michigan's graduate sustainability program. And I'm super excited about that. And I'm not positive that he would have followed that path had it not been for the Bronco Challenge. And so my point is that this matters. It matters to our students. And so we're grateful for that. And then lastly, to Neil, I can't think of a better collaborator. I mean, it's just phenomenal when you can run a center and say, and he comes to you and says, I have an idea I'd like to do, and he just does. And so every element I can just stand back and just enjoy the outcomes from it. So thank you all for being here. I think it's going to be a great event. Appreciate it.
Next, we'd like to introduce the Associate Dean of Operations and Graduate Programs at the Hayworth College of Business, Steve Newell.
Thank you very much, and I want to once again thank you for attending the Bronco Challenge for Sustainable Impact. I first want to acknowledge that this event would not be possible without the support of our donors, so I'd like to thank them. Please give them a round of applause. A couple of things I just want to talk about is this event fulfills some of the significant objectives that we have not only at the college but at the university. And one of the big things that we're trying to do across the university and the college business is promote experiential learning for our students. Something beyond the lecture format, the basic exercises, and the idea of looking at bigger problems and actually probably providing some solutions to some of these problems. So this event really epitomizes that particular goal that we have, and we're so excited about being a part of it. Also, one of the objectives we have, particularly for the College of Business, but the university also, is how do we do a better job of bringing our community, the leaders, organizations, and businesses to interact with our faculty and our students on a regular basis. And this is another way that we do that, and it's a really great way for us to become a much broader community, not just Western alone, just teaching students, but the idea is important that we're part of this broader community, both businesses and organizations, and I think this also does that too. And then finally, what makes this particular event unique is it brings attention to and endeavors to find solutions to these big problems we have in the world. They're overwhelming for us, but we have to start somewhere. And it's a great news that our students are a part of trying to figure out how do we solve these issues as they move through the future, because they're going to be here and many of us are going to be gone. So this event really focuses on a big problem and how we can move forward as a community, as a world, as a nation, and as a university, and helping to solve some of these problems. So overall, the Bronco Challenge of Sustainable Impact is an example of some of the best practices of higher education. And this is something we need to mirror throughout the university and do more of this in the College of Business. And then finally, to end, I really want to thank Neil and Tim for their putting this together, a huge amount of work, but also I want you to, it's not just work, it's passion for both of them. And talking to both Neil many times and of course Tim, this is something that's part of their core. This is something they want to do, and they think there's something important that we can contribute to. So once again, thank you very much for coming. Students, thank you for participating in this very important event, and good luck.
Also with us today is the director of the Western Michigan University Office for Sustainability, Jeff Spolstra.
Improvising. So here it is. Western students about 13 years ago decided we wanted more real action on campus projects for sustainability, for climate change solutions. And we got up and running with funding from the students themselves. You students pay a sustainability fee, and our office helps turn that into projects, programs, initiatives, collaborations. When we see something new and awesome growing on campus, like the Bronco Challenge, we have the opportunity to invest and help grow that sort of initiative. So I'm thrilled that we're this far. Tim, Neil, it's been great, and I'm so excited to see where you go with the competition in years ahead. It helps us fulfill one of our longstanding goals to support design competitions across campus and to infuse sustainability and climate change information across the curriculum through teaching and research. So we're working on those things. It was really driven by students, and I'm happy to be a collaborator. Good luck today, students.
And although we won't prevail on them to speak today, we would like to introduce the judges and our corporate sponsor representatives who are able to join us. Our judges from Service Solutions in her second year as a judge, Laura Evans. A member of the Western Michigan University Engineering faculty in his second year as a judge, Tycho Fredericks. A member of the Hayworth College of Business Marketing faculty, Teresa Greenlees. The director of the Western Michigan University CX Scholars Program, Ronica Hamilton. Hal Seck, a local partner who has provided judges for 2 years in a row, Ian Kennedy. From Novolex, in her second year as a judge, Allie Least. And from Meyer, who's also a sponsor, Annalise Steckety. We do have some corporate sponsor representatives who are with us today. From Invenergy, Taylor Bradshaw. And then from CalSec, Ian Kennedy. Again, from Meyer, Annalise Stuckety. And we also want to sincerely thank our friends at Pfizer, Greenlink, Owens Corning, and Greif. Your generosity has made this experience possible. I think everyone knows how this works today, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page, we'll hear from teams of students who have been working on their solutions and presentations with Neil since last semester. Each 4-person team has selected one team member to present to us today. They have 15 minutes to present, followed by 10 minutes in which the judges can ask additional questions. We do plan to take a short break between teams 3 and teams 4 for some setup. And then after the 4th presentation, the judges will deliberate and then announce our winners. And so without further ado, we will begin. The first team to present today discussing ethical labor practices is Full Disclosure. Their presenter is Will Rosine.
For Will's benefit and all the other speakers, I forgot to say I will be timing you and giving you a signal when you have 5 minutes or 1 minute yet to go. If you run out of time, because we are on a tight schedule, ring a little bell.
I remember
That's a signal that happens to even the best. They run out of time. So the way to handle that is to say, I'm running out of time. Let me wrap up quickly and then finish that with another sentence or two so we can move on.
Is at that point, is there a laser pointer on this here? Or is it just a clicker?
It's just a flip.
Perfect. It's enough. Okay. Do you want to start the timer, Neil?
I will do that. We're started.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming today. I know it's early. I know you're all tired, so we figured we'd kick things off with the most interesting topic of them all, labor law. Bear with me, though. So I worked throughout the semester. I got the amazing opportunity, actually throughout the year, I got the amazing opportunity to work with an awesome team of people on a project called Full Disclosure. So the premise here was that in the world today, there's these great large corporations producing great large products that we're finding all in our grocery stores and all around, but we don't know how they arrived there. We don't know who was behind those products, who was producing them, and under what conditions they were being produced. So here's the amazing team that I was a part of. Right here, we've got Tori Loykitz. She's in the back there. She's our human resources star. We've got Chloe here. She designed this amazing logo that you all see. We've got Seth. I'll save his work for later. It's a bit of a surprise. And then there's me before I became a hippie. Real quick, because the presentation is just based around the UN Sustainable Development Goals, I just wanted to talk right here about what we focused on throughout the course of our project. And if you have any questions too, I'd love to talk about them in the questions section. But essentially, we found that by touching on matters of labor, we got to hit on all of these points in really unique and special ways, and I'll elaborate on that throughout the presentation. Okay, so the problem, as I alluded to earlier, is that as it stands today, we just don't know where our products are coming from. And, you know, we've seen this in terms of anything from spanning from child labor to suicide nets outside of corporations in countries all around the world. And the other problem is that while the ILO exists, the International Labor Organization exists, and it's a great organization doing great work and providing great guidelines for businesses, the enforcement ability that they have on these countries is lackluster at best. And not every company nor country is forced to participate in ethical labor practices. So real quick, I just wanted to talk about our why, what we were focused on throughout this project. So we wanted to give voice to underrepresented workers, but we wanted to do that not by punishing businesses, but rewarding businesses participating in good practices with more committed customers, better resources. We wanted to outline good work being done, and we wanted to let the market decide why we buy the products we buy. So it led us to this question. If this is going on, shouldn't we know about it? Shouldn't we be aware of it when we're buying things in the store? Don't we as consumers have a responsibility or a duty to serve our fellow humans and make sure that we're supporting ethical business practices in everything that we use, from soap to the water bottles we drink and the computers, the chips and the computers that we use? It all comes from somewhere. And we all actually, the full disclosure team just thought that we consumers ought to know where that somewhere is. So our mission is through universal product code scanning. So on the back of every product is a universal product code or a barcode there's actually technology that exists already. I don't know if you're familiar with Yucca, but there's great products where you can scan the backs of any product in the grocery store just with your smartphone. And then when you align data with that, it outlines whatever you can easily get access to that information right on your smartphone. So if we had a set of organized labor metrics stemming from where these products were produced, we could outline them right in your smartphone, right in the grocery store, right before you buy a product, and give you the opportunity to purchase product alternatives. All this is, of course, to create and encourage a world where everyone is working safe and financially fulfilling work. So, as I touched on, based on our product design, you would approach any product in the store and you would scan the back of the barcode, and then it would immediately spit out a screenshot or a snapshot of the labor conditions in which that product was produced. So, as I touched on, we want the free market here to do what government enforcement has been yet unable to do. So we want to give the power to the consumers, and we want to do so to protect the employees while rewarding the businesses that are doing it right. The caveat there, of course. So this doesn't just help employees in the practical sense too, or in the immediate sense. What we found was that ethical lawyer practices would help businesses recruit better employees. More employees would want to work for these businesses. But also we would give data, we would publish data online and through the app that would allow employees to seek out better businesses doing better labor practices. And then if I'm a company that's participating in bad labor practices, I think that seeing all my employees leave and my customers decrease, my sales decrease, essentially, I think that would cause me personally to rethink the context in which I'm participating in the products that I'm making. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, so when we first started, we initially had this plan where we were going to create our set of labor metrics completely on our own accord. And maybe down the road, one day, we will do that. That's always an option. This is such a complicated problem. It requires a lot of reflection. And, there's plenty of opportunity to do that down the road. But we wanted to start by incorporating the generally accepted fair trade principles of business as the standard for what good labor is. And so when these consumers are in the grocery store scanning this product, the labor conditions in which it was produced will be compared against the existing fair trade standards. So as I've alluded to, this project has been an inspiration from a few different sources. We were inspired by the technology of Yucca, which is an app that allows you to scan products in the grocery store based on the health of the chemicals that were used in producing those products. We wanted to expand that and take that in a different direction. Unlike the ILO, we wanted to use free market principles to drive this product. And then B Corp, if anyone's familiar with B Corp, is an existing company that does do these standards for a select set of businesses, but we wanted every business to be able to participate either through beginning through self-reported data, but then further expanding hopefully into a world where audits are mandated for globalized businesses, producing globalized products in the global economy. And then finally, unlike the ISSB, which is a board that exhibits data, sustainability data for outside investors, we wanted to curate this data for the consumer. So real quick, I just want to touch on, in December, we got a cool opportunity. A few members of our group got an amazing opportunity to go to Darjeeling, India, where we got to go through the Darjeeling, India tea gardens there. And we saw some really striking things. We saw some difficult problems, but also some beautiful opportunities. So what we found was, there's the typical low wages, and that's a problem that exists all around the world. But what we also found was that in the cases where these individuals had to work all day to support their families, they would work in these farms, but the farms would actually put up, thank you, Neil, would actually put up, they had housing that existed for the employees to subsidize their low wages. However, if those employees lost their jobs or became injured or in some way or died, the rest of their families were at risk of losing their entire houses. They weren't guaranteed. So the students who were in school would sometimes have to drop out of school to support their family and move into the farm at an early age to continue the work and keep their family sustained. So for us, labor data would be just the start. Sustainability is broad, and for us, labor kind of struck a chord with us, but there's nothing saying that we can't take this thing further from here. But yeah, labor first, and then, so we'll be labor experts first, and then we'll tackle the rest from there. And then real quick, I just wanted to address the obvious objection. In a coming world of automation, where we're advocating for better wages, better labor conditions, what's to stop these businesses from automating all of these jobs right out of existence? And we said, once again, that businesses, if they're participating in society, they have an obligation to serve the societies in which they participate in. So, some of the things that we addressed and some of the things that would be considered in a rating system would be how well is a company adapting to a changing world, and are they supporting a workforce through technical education and adaptation. And then real quick, the business case. So in Dr. Palmer's class, we were always, there was a heavy emphasis on the triple bottom line. And so we thought that if this is like a delicate ecosystem, is the triple bottom line, it's people, planet, and profit. And so if profit is the only thing you're worried about and you don't treat your people or your planet right, then those parts of the ecosystem erode, and they especially erode your ability to participate in profit. But if you treat your customer or you treat your employees right, and you give them the resources they need to succeed, then they will be more motivated to participate in the company and its success, and they will be more likely to stay around for the future and become more skilled and better participators in the company. So all of these things work together. Finally, when asked, so we're trying to keep the prices low, and I can talk about that later through questions if you're curious, but when asked if they would be willing to pay more for a product that was ethically sourced, consumers said, by and large, that they absolutely would. And then finally, as I'm wrapping up here, I just wanted to show you that little thing that our friend Seth did. So if you could scan this, I'll close out the presentation, but this is a website that we designed on behalf of the team. And this was kind of just the bare bones of what we're trying to do, but we just thought that it would be good to lay out kind of what we were thinking and where we were hoping to take this project in the future. If everybody's got it, then I'll wrap up. Thank you.
Great time management, so let's.
I thought you'd like that. Okay, and yeah, please take your time, and when you have questions that pop up, yeah, please.
Well, great job. I
Thank you.
really liked that you had a little prototype with the QR code included
Yeah.
in the write-up. That was awesome. And I really love the idea that you wanted to seek grants and some other, that type of funding. I thought that was really smart.
Thank you for laying that out. Yeah, that was for everybody who's not aware. We also wrote a project report and laid out our funding and some of our thinking regarding that. Thank you.
So kind of a two-part question. The first part of it is how are you going to attract people to become part of this organization? And then secondly, how do you verify the data that you receive?
Great question. Thank you. Yeah, and this is something that we look to address throughout the entire process, the entire development of our project. So to that first question, actually in the report too, we did lay out that there are companies that already exist that are looking to do this, to incorporate ethical labor practices into their sourcing. I mentioned it in the presentation that every B Corp company does that already. So I would imagine that they wouldn't have a problem having their labor already publicly available. They already do it, just in a different context. And so basically we wanted to make that accessible. But there's also larger corporations. Off the top of my head, I think it was Lowe's and I forget the other one, but those are in the project report as well. There are companies that are already looking to do this, to express to the public that they have good labor practices. So we would work to collaborate with them first and then expand from there. The second part of your question, would you mind repeating that?
So how are you going to verify? So in other words, especially if I'm an unethical company, right? I'm already in that world. I might likely send you data that's incorrect.
Yeah, so already existing in the world is labor auditors or supply chain auditors is a term more commonly used. So the first step for us would be working with, a organization like Fair Trade, and then defining a set of auditing principles in which we can send out certified, verified auditors to do this in the way that we want to do it, and we can have this data be legitimate, as legitimate.
Your organization would take on auditors, is what?
So we already existing are these auditors through International Labor Organization does audits. So it would be just a matter of finding which organization would allow us to best audit. If that did mean that we do it ourselves, then we would certainly take it that direction. But we wanted to focus on the software aspect of this and then collaborate with these other organizations For us, it was United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 17 is collaboration with other partners. So thank you.
Good answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, please.
First of all, great job.
Thank you.
And I really love how the way that you're approaching this from a philosophical standpoint, right? Rewarding good behavior versus, what's the word? Reprimanding? No.
Yeah, I think so.
I did have a question though about the business model, and unfortunately I didn't have the benefit of reading the full report prior to your presentation.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's a lot of costs associated with running an operation like this
Yeah.
at the level of scale that you're talking about, whether that's app development and maintenance
Yeah,
or,
absolutely.
the legal team and the data validation, data collection, recruiting companies, advertising to consumers.
Yeah.
How are you going to pay for all that?
Yep. So thank you. First off, from the start, we defined ourselves as a nonprofit, a 501c3. We wanted to open ourselves up to grant funding. That was the focus. And I'm just recalling what we wrote down in the paper. We estimated that our startup cost would be a whopping, and I'm not going to shy away from it, right? It was $600,000 per year on the low end. I mean, we were being kind to ourselves there, but through that nonprofit status and with the subject matter that we're tackling in the current sustainability environment that we already exist in, we thought that opening ourselves up to national and international grant funding would be the best way to get this started. Because just because there's that cost barrier doesn't mean that this shouldn't exist, that it's not good for the world, was the attitude that we had. Does that answer your question in its entirety? Okay, cool. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so with just the broad assortment of products that are offered at a store like Meijer, what would be the first product category that you tackle? Where did you see the most issues coming up around the world?
Thank you. Yeah. So we loved, so for our project, we wanted to do a case study. We did the tea, which is what we knew. But what we found was what we found to be the most alarming issue as it relates to child labor was computer chips and the innards of the keyboards and computers that we use on a daily basis. They're sourced from a lot of unethical mines. They're sourcing data of where they're produced and put into our computers is hazy at best. So just based on the top of my head, we would start with the computers we're purchasing. So how do we do that better? Yeah, thank you.
The feeding syndrome. Okay, great stuff. There's really intense. That's probably the turning.
It's gonna be in there.
All right, I mean, I think it's important.
Will you frame me by putting this over here? All right. The second team to present today discussing hazardous liquid waste disposal is safety. Their presenter is Ryan Stock. Yes.
Hi, I'm Ryan. This is our project Safety. Our team consists of Agnes Nainamba, myself, Ryan Stock, my buddy Royce Pascal over there, and Nina Matowski. We're an effective group of product designers and industrial engineering students here at WMU, and we have a passion for products and services that can create beneficial and productive impacts on sustainability. So first, we kind of got to figure out our mission statement, but to start that off, we need to identify the problem. We found through our research that 35 million tons of hazardous waste is produced by the United States alone. Most of that is being not treated correctly, and it's a growing concern because industry experts see this amount growing year to year. Not many people know how to correctly dispose of that. From our interviews, we interviewed many homeowners throughout this process, and they said that 63% of individuals frequently dispose of hazardous materials, and 54% of what they are disposing is liquid. So it's going to be stuff like motor oils, household surface cleaners, paints and stains, stuff like that. And then we get into our benchmarking. What is there on the market currently to solve this issue? From what we found, there's nothing at the home level of how to treat hazardous liquid waste. And the main solution is the city waste disposal sites. I don't know if many of you have gone to the one here in Kalamazoo, but it's closed 4 days out of the week. I think the only times that they are open is like 8 to 12 on Wednesday and Friday, and then like 12 to 6 on Tuesday or something. So it's like completely whack hours, and it's totally nobody wants to go out of their way and do that when they got family or work or stuff like that that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Currently, there are 1,336 hazardous waste disposal sites in the U.S., but we found through our interviews with homeowners that 8% of them don't visit it. It's either because of a lack of knowledge or, like I said, a lack of time, and they don't want to go out of their way to drive to those sites. And they also don't know about them. It's not properly advertised. So that leaves a bunch of people with leftover cleaners, paints, oils, stuff like that, just laying around their house. They don't know how to dispose of them. They want to get rid of them because it's taking up space. But if they do want to just get rid of them, they end up just either pouring it down the drain or putting it in the trash, which is harmful for our environment. So then we get into our actual problem statement. So homeowners are currently unable to dispose of hazardous waste safely and easily. Totally inconvenient, like I said, and no one really knows about how to do it. So the UN Sustainable Development Goals that this applies to is responsible consumption and production. High-income countries like the US produce 10 times the environmental footprint of other countries. This would be significantly lowered if people knew how to deal with hazardous waste. And less contamination creates more effective reproductions throughout our economy. It also applies to clean water and sanitation. Seeing that 54% of these hazardous materials are liquids, most of them are probably going to be released into the water, right? So if they're not dealt with correctly, paints, motor oils, cleaner, stuff like that contain forever chemicals that get into our water system. Forever chemicals are man-made chemicals that are used in household products and are very resilient to water and soil and even our human bloodstream. So, and they stay there indefinitely. That's kind of why they're called forever chemicals. So that's poses a significant health risk to people in the United States and across the world. But also quality education. Not many people know, like I said, about these hazardous waste sites, and they don't know what they're doing is harmful to the environment when they're just pouring it down the drain or putting it in the trash. So they need a quality way to figure out how to properly dispose of these items. So then we get into our main objectives, our design criteria and goals. So we kind of want our product to have a high affordance of use. How easily can the customer just go over, know what it's for, know how to use it, know the different components of it and how it works. It needs to be in a convenient location. Like I said, these hazardous waste sites are usually on the outskirts of the city. Nobody wants to go visit them because of their hours. So that kind of brings us to the convenient hours of operation. It needs to be open more. A lot of people have stuff that they want to get rid of, but they don't know how. And we get into our goals. We need to inform users of proper disposal practices while also making disposing of hazardous liquids more easy and convenient. So then we kind of get into our feasibility. Currently, there's a lack of attention towards hazardous liquid waste. There are, like I said, there are 1,336 sites across the United States alone. While this might seem like a fair number, it's a surprisingly deceiving statistic. While states like Idaho, which are very low on the list in terms of the amount of sites that they have just 6 sites, and then over 60 McDonald's in their states. So there's that kind of like lack of attention towards important practices. And why would we start with Michigan? Currently, Michigan is the 5th highest in terms of hazardous waste sites. They have 65, and also Michigan creates 0.32 million tons in hazardous waste as of 2021. So Michigan shows that they have a need for waste disposal solutions, especially liquid waste disposal, as well as an interest in environmental safety. There have been multiple lawsuits and actions taken towards forever chemicals being released into the environment through Michigan's legislatures. So yeah, and then into our possible directions, our team developed the idea of a 24-hour drop-off locker location. I think it kind of came into fruition when one of us said, what if there was a red box for disposing of liquid hazardous waste? Like, what if they can just kind of go over and drop it off? So we would have our locker to be a simple solution to hazmat disposal, open 24/7, regulated weekly, and dealt with by people that know how to deal with these chemicals safely and effectively. Located conveniently outside the very place that they get these materials. Like I said, motor oils, paints, stains, household cleaners. So it would be located outside of home improvement stores like Lowe's, Menards, stuff like that. From there, we get into our prototyping. I don't know what happened to that picture. But we expand our ideation through prototyping. This helped us display functionality and also gather feedback from our customers. As you can kind of see, there's different drawer systems, kiosk systems, bin systems that we came up with to kind of figure out what works, what doesn't work for our customers. And then we get into our customer feedback. So we interviewed 30 more homeowners, asked what they liked and disliked, what they would keep, what they would change, and how much they would bring each trip. That part was very, very important. So out of the 30 people that we interviewed, a lot of them were saying that if this was a option that they knew about and was actually real, they would bring many things at many times throughout the year. They have a lot of cleaners and paints and stuff that they don't use. They only needed it for one-time use. So they would like to get rid of it. And then we had a lot of people also talking about the location. Like we said, location was very, very important throughout this process. We want something that people can just walk up to any day of the week and use very easily. A lot of them liked our idea for a barcode scanner for a logging system, what they are trying to dispose of. I'm going to get into that further into this presentation. And also people loved the ease of use. The way that the hazardous waste sites work in the States is you bring your product, you don't even get out of your car, they log it, take it, and then you're on your way, but you're waiting in line for about like 5 minutes or so and stuff like that. So then we get into our final design, safety. So save your home, save the world is kind of like our tagline. Safety is a kiosk locker system that would be located outside of these home improvement stores. And it would work, the way it would work is that the customer would approach the kiosk over here, scan their state ID to get started to make sure that they are eligible to actually dispose of these materials because it would be state regulated. It would also double as an item logging barcode scanner if they have the original packaging of what the liquid is transported in. They could just scan it, it would log it for them, and then they would continue through the process. But if they do not have the original packaging, that's where the touchpad interface would come into play. They would manually key in the item that they have, and then a corresponding self-locking and unlocking door would open. based on what they're throwing away. So if someone scans motor oils, then a locker for motor oils would open up. If they had paints and stains, locker would open up. And inside those would be interchangeable hazmat safe bins. The customer would just have to simply put their contained liquid into the bin, close the locker would lock itself, and then it would be there for someone to come interchange the bins throughout the week. And also, this was something that we thought would be really important, is that different cities obviously have different amounts of waste per year. Some states might have more motor oils than another state, or more paints and stains in the other state, or cleaning solutions. So the lockers would be completely interchangeable based on the statistics of what each state is producing. So this is kind of that got cut off. There was a kiosk over there, but it would be an in context picture of where our item would be located. It would be located outside of these home improvement stores, like I said. And man, I wish that picture was not cut off. Anyway, but so how safety works, we would actually be selling it to the local hazardous waste facilities through a 5-year contract. These are the people that actually know how to deal with the materials. So we want to keep it in the hands of people that know what they're doing and how to do it. The total cost for the kiosk and lockers would be paid off after the first 5 years using a 10% interest rate. And if the local hazardous waste facilities resign 5-year profits for safety, a 5-year contract, profits for safety will increase as the full kiosk is paid off and the contract rate remains consistent. They're resigning consistently. And the reason that we're confident that hazardous waste sites would partner with us is that they would actually benefit from it as well. We found that their revenue is based on the amount that they bring in. So as you can see, revenue per ton, Kalamazoo would bring in $15,332 in additional profit after 1 year. And the reason for this is that Kalamazoo processes 2,000 tons of waste per year. Current revenue is around 180,000, and 9% of that revenue is due strictly to the liquid hazardous waste. And safety is projected to add 170 tons to that already existing amount for the Kalamazoo facility. And then we get into our plan to market. So expansion, like I said, Michigan has some of the most amount of hazardous waste sites in the country. So there are many opportunities to partner. And once we kind of expand through Michigan, then it kind of gives us the opportunity to validate ourselves for the United States and kind of expand just there. And so how do we get customers to constantly use our kiosk? That's the other question that we asked ourselves. And since it's going to be located outside of home improvement stores, we would partner with them to offer discounts to kind of incentivize and gamify the process for them. So they would constantly come back and get rid of their materials, and they would just have to enter in their rewards information on the touchpad interface, and be simple as that. And then in terms of marketing, Fred said this earlier, the kiosk actually on the outside has everything that it accepts and what you can dispose of and what it is used for. So it essentially markets itself, and people would see it and know what it is used for and what and why it is there. And also we would, once we have the opportunity, once we have the money for it, we would use that for commercials and advertisements throughout the state. And then special thank you to our mentor, Caleb Gosens. He should be on the call right now, so I hope he heard that. But yeah, so that's safety. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect time management.
Questions?
Questions?
There's a chance.
I can go first. I can go first again if you want. I have.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was hoping that there was.
First of all, I guess I didn't mention it before at the other group, but I love that each of you has your logo and has a vision. I think that's great that you.
The logo is actually all him, so I'll give him the credit for that. Yeah, give him all the applause.
Hate him. Anyway, I thought that, I noticed that before and I meant to mention that. And I really like the problem that you decided to tackle. I mean, it's near and dear to my heart. I've tried to come up with ideas how to do this in the past. I've actually implemented collection at some facilities where I've worked in the past and failed massively.
Yes.
And so I guess one thing that you got to take into consideration, where we make the assumption that all of these consumers are going to be, what's what I want, follow the directions, et cetera, but they don't.
Yeah.
Right, they get lazy and a drawer opens and they dump everything in or whatever, so it's a little bit of a trick, so just something to consider, but I'm a little confused on who your customer, you said it's the disposal facilities?
Yes, so we would actually sell to the disposal facilities through a 5-year contract. That 5-year contract would pay off the kiosk and locker systems. They would be the ones that come weekly to get those hazardous materials and then treat them the correct way.
Where does that disposal facility make their money?
So yeah, that's what I was getting into on this one. Like I said, they make their revenue based on the amount that they bring in. If people have that convenient location that is open 24 hours and located outside the very place that they get the materials, they would add on the extra materials that they would bring in and then get more revenue. So it would benefit them as well as.
Did your group take into consideration that they make money by what they bring in because somebody's paying them? Who is that somebody in this scenario? That's where I was having a hard time following.
If I'm being completely honest, I am not usually the financial person. So I'm sure Mila, she's not here today, but I'm sure she went over that. It is probably in our project brief that we had to turn in. But
I didn't see it. I'm not trying to be a.
Oh, no, I left that over. So that is not, that is something that we do to develop further going forward, but yeah, that's something.
Still a great idea. I love it.
Yeah.
I wish we could get it into, that would be wonderful. I have a garage full of stuff. Very, very good.
I mean, a lot of people have that laying around. When we presented this for another class, for Tycho's class, that was what a lot of people's complaints were, is that they had those things laying around, they don't know how to deal with them. Any other questions?
Just out of curiosity, did you talk to some of the disposal sites, like the one in Kalamazoo? Did you?
Yes,
talk to them
yeah,
about their
that's
concerns?
actually how we got a lot of the different components to the system through our conversations with people from the waste disposal sites and also people on WMU's campus that deal with biomedical trash, stuff like that on campus. They said that the main danger was not knowing what they're disposing of. A lot of people just bring in random stuff and they can't really dispose of it safely or correctly. So that barcode scanner and logging system would be essential to the safety of the people that are actually disposing of the different materials.
And in those conversations, did any of them suggest any barriers from their side, and it might address the revenue issue, like how are we going to pay for this? Did they say, oh, it's a great idea, but, or what was their?
Not through my experience,
Yeah.
at least. Not that I have gone through or anything like that, no.
So my question would be controls, and maybe, I think you've already answered this in a way. I just remember when we first moved into town, we moved into a house in the basement. There's like a can of asbestos, paint with asbestos in it. And they wouldn't take it here. So that became our like asbestos pet that we took from house. So how would you handle, like, how informing the consumers, like what can be disposed of there if something wasn't properly disposed of there?
That is part of the self-advertising that I was talking about at the end. I didn't get to it when I was talking about it here. So all along the side right here, it says exactly what the kiosk is. And I don't know if you can read that, but it says dispose of motor oils, resin, cleaning chemicals, paints. It fully tells the user what it can be disposed of and what we take into account.
I suppose if somebody's dropped something into a bin that they shouldn't, you have their ID,
Yes,
you
yeah.
have their.
Yeah, we have a way to track them back and kind of figure that all out.
Thinking about this from a marketing standpoint, and I was wondering if you considered having the consumer pay a portion of the cost. I'm thinking about like when I take old batteries to recycle, I pay a certain price per pound. And I think of it as like a tax on moral high ground. But it also like assign greater value to that task because I have to pay, even if it's just a nominal amount. So I'm wondering if that would be a way to potentially incentivize more drop-offs, like to make the consumer more engaged in the process and have like a stake in it.
That is not something that we had considered entirely. That is something that we address as we were going forward. We thought that partnerships with the people that actually know how to dispose of it would be our main source in terms of getting this off the ground, but that is definitely something that we can consider moving forward, yeah.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
And I do want to point out that kind of at the last minute, we had to move their slide presentation from a PDF to a PowerPoint presentation. So the glitches in the slides were not the team's fault. I take full responsibility for that. Ryan, thank you for rolling with it. Give me just a minute and let's open the next.
Your name tag on your head.
Yeah.
Change my home.
All right. The third team to present today discussing identifying sustainable products is Green Cat. Their presenter is Brendan Joseph Mortensen Sequin.
Great two presentations before us. I know everyone's, excited to get to that break after this presentation. So we can get into it. We're coming to you as Green Cat. We're hoping for bottom-up, consumer-based, sustainable purchasing. Very similar to some of the labor practices, but we're really hoping for ensuring that people identify the products based on resources and business transparency. Some of our team, we're all individuals focused on community, building choices, and ensuring transparency. We all come from a sustainability background, but have a wide variety of activities we've been involved with. We have me, Allison, McKenna, and Catherine. Now, some of the challenges we notified that are leading to a lack of actual integration in sustainable purchasing are the lack of information, greenwashing, confusing labels, and individual shame. Now, for the lack of information, it's super common to go through an actual store and not be able to know where your product is coming from, where the resources are coming from, what business owns what business, any of the lack of information on how sustainable purchasing works, where products come from, or even all of the complex layers that are put into sustainability and what sustainability means. We really hope to address that with our platform. Next is greenwashing, the cloak of actual environmental friendliness and using language to make your product seem more environmentally friendly than it is. We really wanted to make sure that businesses were changing their language and that people had a transparent view of what a product actually was away from a corporation's labels. Going to confusing labels is very similar. It's marketing towards actual environmentally friendly products, switching labels but not changing any of the actual resources, and trying to market on an actual store shelf or online. Now, for individual shame, that's obviously the most personable and social aspects of these. And it comes in kind of two forms. There's one where someone might have their own individual neglect of actual products, or either trying to see on one end, considerably pushing for environmental sustainability in their products, going to the stores, trying to find every single product that they can and shaming others, which pushes people out of the field. Or on the other end, being confused about all of these things and so just neglecting it completely. I don't want to involve myself in all these environmental sustainability things. There's all these aspects, companies lie, and issues like that. Now we came up with the solution GreenCat, a comprehensive digital platform that's meant to inform consumers about the many products they're actually shopping for and build an engaged audience so they're consistently looking at our platform and ensuring that their purchasing is actually sustainable. It has both engaging platforms with a low level of with high level of integration and a low level of actually trying to I can't think of what the word is, integrate itself into the platform. It's trying to be pretty hands-off from what actually consumers see, giving them a score. Now, for the sustainable development goals that we found, we thought there were 4 main ones that we were under the privy of. The main one was 12, responsible consumption and production, really focusing on that consumption aspect. We felt that going way too much into the production side of things and trying to go through the large and complex issues that come with supply sides, industrial processes, wouldn't build a platform that was great for this project. The other 3, quality education, good health and well-being, and climate action are all integrated into our service. We try to make a centralized platform for education. We had good health and well-being based on consumer practices and resources, and for climate action, because we integrate climate footprint into the products in our score. Now, for how it works, GreenCat has both a front-facing user interface and a back-facing catalog that will actually develop the scores for all of these products. It is consistent of 5 main scores: carbon footprint, resource use, packaging, transportation, and business transparency. And then it combines those all into an overall score, which is what the user would see in their actual experience. We were also considering many different other scores that can be in the subsections, depending on the sector. It's a wide variety of things: agricultural practices, water use, labor practices, and many more. Now, we really wanted to make sure our platform was user-friendly. We wanted to ensure the best user experience for all levels of integration. So we decided to go with a free Chrome browser extension, something that really emphasizes online product searches. It would integrate itself by having GreenCat, our mascot, in the top right corner with a score depending on the product and the service you were shopping on. If you were on Amazon, for instance, if you were scrolling down a list of products, you'd be able to find a score, and it would help you make an informed decision with our analysis, which you could then look into from the subsection. But there's both overall scores that a user would actually be able to see and think about in their day-to-day experience. And if they really wanted to look more into the information, we would have subsections as well as areas for user feedback. We also have our virtual garden, which is helping engage the actual user in a fun, more app development style way. Now, there are competitors in this field, even on the Chrome extension side of things. Here are a few in the backdrop here, but we really separate ourselves by ensuring that the marketing of our product and the user engagement are first and foremost. Our marketing with our mascot, possible pilot projects, is much more extensive than any current users in the field, and we really pushed for making sure user engagement was as smooth as possible. We didn't want users to feel shame or to have a carbon calculator, and we didn't want users to have to look through page after page of information to understand the sustainable purchase that they were trying to do. We really wanted it to be mostly on our side and then inform them from that. Now, the virtual garden aspect, which I was talking about, is our main engagement platform. We do not use carbon calculators because we are trying to not have any actual form of shame in the product. It's essentially working like many apps or mobile games that you would see, where you can build a community with your friends, something that you would see on Facebook, or even just apps that you would find at any store. And it would become part of the extension and have multiple platforms for it. If you're doing more sustainable purchasing, you can then give more products for your garden, and so on and so forth. It works as a positive reinforcement mechanism so that we can ensure people are consistently engaged with our product. Now, the business case for our product is starting with actual sustainable products and ensuring that we're integrating into the market that already exists. Currently, there's an increase in the actual market share for these sustainable products. We hope to be a platform for them to actually integrate with users and be exposed to a more common audience. We really want to push and strike while the iron's hot while the market's increasing. As you can see, they grew 2.7 times faster than conventional products, and we are consistently trying to switch towards consumer attitudes. Now, for our general business plan, we had first our target market. So we wanted to go for a group of either urban or suburban, sustainably minded individuals, people who are going to their local farmers market, people who are already consistently engaging with sustainability to start our product. We were thinking about possible pilot projects in maybe Ann Arbor, San Francisco, or other areas, things where there's already a large community behind these sustainable practices. That way we can integrate ourselves in the actual community that's already there and try to build our platform from existing networks. So for our implementation costs, we understood that there were going to be upfront costs in development, calculations, statistics, very similar to the labor presentation from earlier, but our costs are significantly lower than most app development, which can range anywhere from $13,000 to $26,000 or $16,000 to $36,000 on average. Because we're a Chrome web extension, we estimated probably about $8,000 for initial development, and then research could either be done with AI for resources or for businesses, and advertising would really be one of our main costs after that. Our pilot projects are specifically a large advertising fee, and it can range from anywhere to a couple thousand to 10,000s. But eventually there would be a lowering of cost towards general maintenance. Many apps and software will just become general maintenance and updates just to ensure that there's still community support, or there will be some advertising on top of that. But really that upfront cost is the main thought. So for our value proposition, we came up with sustainable purchasing and informed decisions, fostering an environmentally focused community at the benefit of your values. We really wanted to focus on the community aspect first. We really made sure that our entire platform was meant to build engagement, build community, ensure that people were consistently coming back to it. And we wanted to make sure their values in sustainable purchasing were being sought. So we came up with Green Cap. For our revenue streams, we had initially using grants to fund early operations or small business loans. We were definitely leaning more towards the small business loan aspects of things at the end, just because of those initial upfront costs. But as things start to slow down, we thought about increasing some additional features in the virtual garden, microtransactions, or even having ad space since it is a Chrome extension. Now it's important to focus on why we need this in our day-to-day life. Consumer level education is a decentralized and incredibly lacking field right now. In making sure that consumers can actually have a centralized platform to where they can consistently look back to understand their sustainable purchases was one of our main focuses. The consistency is incredibly lackluster as well. And so we wanted to make sure that people were looking at this over and over and over again, or it integrated themselves in every single purchase in a small way so they could build from our platform. Now, features are designed to retain user engagement, not to lose it as many of the other competitors in the field would. It was desperately needed features, and so we came up with our engagement platform with both the virtual garden and other metrics. Now, we also wanted to make sure that there were equitable shifts in shopping habits. Because it's such a decentralized field, there's not really a amplification of voices who are purchasing. If we could increase the actual engagement from users, then their purchasing options would be a much more notable thing to businesses when they were looking at their bottom line. So we wanted to ensure that there was actually a general shift in market transitions to more sustainable products because of consumer-based tactics. Likewise, it fills gaps in production level policies because it would build and amplify that voice. It was definitely something that we were considering in the entire design here. Now, in summary, we did want to focus on that bottom-up sustainable development, supporting those natural transitions. That was the baseline for our entire product, and why we came up with the Google Chrome extension. We wanted an equitable system that anyone could use that would start from the consumer but lead to the market transition, so it would be a win for both. And we wanted to create a consistent voice for citizens to make sure that their sustainable purchases actually were seen by businesses. That is all I have. Any questions?
Hi, I'm curious why you decided to leave out some of the different categories like water use or if you could speak to, I guess, why you chose the ones you did opposed to the ones you left out.
Yeah, generally because we were focusing on the business aspect of everything first, which our team does have multiple business majors on it. We wanted to think about things in a general way first, so we had our 5 main concepts that you could find in every product. And because so many products are very different in their industrial processes, we wanted to have a couple categories that were more focused towards individual sectors. So for instance, we were bringing up the example of agricultural uses, right? So if you're looking at, let's say, lettuce at Meijer, or you're looking at, I don't know, Amazon Foods and understanding what you're buying there, there's going to be different metrics that we look at for food items compared to plastic toys, for instance.
Fair. Yeah, it's hard to compare like across.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that there was one level of comparison that could be used for all products and that some were specified. And likewise, most of our metrics were also going to be tracked through research that was done at either some of the business level and also the resource level. So for instance, if your product used palm oil versus a sustainable alternative, it would have a different score based on that versus if, or it would have a different score based on that. Or if your product was owned by Nestle or another company, it would have a different score based on that.
Yeah, so great job, Brendan. I'm actually glad to see all the WSA people and, you know, the involvement there. You alluded to the existing competitors. I think you made a suggestion that they haven't been very successful at getting their name out there and that would be your advantage. And so how would you explain that? Why haven't they been successful, and how, if you can identify some of those barriers, what will you do differently to get people directed to you?
Yeah, we really think that the engagement part is what has led to a lot of the lackluster results of some of these competitors. We were debating between either app development or Chrome extensions, and we went towards Chrome extensions because of the integration part, how easy it is to integrate. But because these are so easily integrated, they kind of fall in a similar aspect of the Chrome extension Honey, if you've ever heard of that, where a lot of people will get it and never use it. And it just sits on the top right of their screen, never to be touched after they actually get it. And the way that it actually brings people in isn't very useful in day-to-day life. And we think that Ask Belinda, well, these are just some of the examples, not specific at all. But we think a lot of what's already out there doesn't really bring itself to the customer in the way that we were hoping to with our marketing strategies. As well as the fact that there needs to be the consistent engagement with the app itself, which is why we implemented the virtual garden.
So if the app is free and you may or may not go for advertising, I'm missing where your profit ability is going to come from.
Mostly the microtransactions or like the in-app purchases that people can have. A lot of apps have and a lot of online processes have switched to those microtransactions, and obviously a lot of people are frustrated with that. But it is an optional thing for people to, you know, engage with. This is going to be a silly representative, but my thought went to My Singing Monsters, where people have this like a garden or thing that they build for fun, but they can purchase new things or speed processes up. We really just wanted to have purchasing. And also because of the low cost, we were hoping to start with grants, and then when costs would drop when it just comes to overall maintenance, that's when we start to implement microtransactions, just to keep that baseline going.
I liked your garden. I can, because I'm in the business, I could see my friends shaming me. Different kind of shame than you were talking about, but I think I would be like, look, my garden's thriving. What is yours look like? That was kind of cool.
Yeah, it definitely goes back to all of the Facebook games I think of my parents playing.
I think I just got old.
Man.
Man. Okay, minus how many? No. Oh,
I like the garden idea and the design is really great. I'm wondering how you find an ability to address the issue of overconsumption. So promoting these sustainable products, but I think about people with like reusable water bottles, buying the new one whenever it's trendy, like getting the Stanley Cup in every color. How do you balance that with this platform?
So because we were explicitly not looking to shame our customers, we were kind of dancing around the idea of overconsumption, right? Because if you buy 30 of one sustainable product versus one unsustainable one, it doesn't necessarily mean you're more sustainable. And so the way we thought of integrating that into day-to-day decisions was likely like blocking it off after one purchase. So that way, you know, customers, unless it was a food item or specific things, like it was like, I don't know, if you bought 100 tote bags versus trying to get your plastic bag, it would still just end at one tote bag. And categorizing things based on the actual product itself, maybe not necessarily, you know, if you buy one tote bag versus a second one, both be points, just categorizing it by the actual object.
thanks. Can I ask you a similar question that we asked the original group is, how are you gonna verify this data?
We were thinking about separating ourselves from the actual businesses in some ways, because we were so worried about that concept of greenwashing, especially since we're so involved in the marketing. We have all these simple scores that we want users to engage with. We didn't want faulty statistics to completely mess those up. So we were thinking about going more towards the actual resources, you know, and unless a company has proven, you know, through transparency measures that their product is coming from a sustainable source, maybe similarly through auditors or such, or even looking through news articles and understanding where these sources come from, like cobalt, like palm oil, like all of these things. Starting from there, right? And if a business has a track record of not following labor laws or having a lot of oversee issues, that would be part of the business transparency modules.
Score.
Yeah.
I think I interrupted you, sorry.
That's all right. No, my question is pretty straightforward. I just wanted to say I love the cat. It's so cute and approachable and like really makes it feel like a friendly resource. But my question is, why isn't it green?
Is this not green cat?
It looks like a black cat to me.
cat's black.
Yeah.
He's got a green bag. He's starving.
She's dark green?
Very dark green.
He's cute.
It's like,
Very-
it's green, so now you
He's
see.
got magic in his tail.
And we also floated the idea of having a cat walk over your actual search bar. One of the ways that you would notice it in your shopping.
Really?
Yeah, marketing was one of the main focuses of this entire product, making sure that everyone knows about this product and building it within a community so that way it can be integrated in day-to-day life. Without the marketing aspect, a lot of these things have fallen short. So we really wanted we actually took examples from Ecosia, the essentially from competitor that's meant to be more sustainable, in a way where, you know, it's integrated. You know, every computer here in the library is on Ecosia, and it's a thing that people actually see every day.
I have another question. So you talked about or how this would lead to better market transformation with more sustainable products. But I think one of the big problems in sustainability is it's oftentimes like an echo chamber, and the people who are going to be using this are people who are already seeking out sustainable products. Did your team, or I guess if you could speak to maybe if your team talked about how you could expand this beyond maybe those specific populations like in the Bay Area and Chicago and other like urban environments, and how you plan to expand that outward and include more people who you wouldn't necessarily think of as looking for a sustainable product?
Yeah, we were definitely focusing on kicking it off the ground and using those pilot projects with the overall expansion kind of being a second thought, right? Just in all transparency, just because overall expansion with how grandiose this concept is, right, was very complicated. So we assumed that a lot of it would be done digitally, a lot of advertising that people would see online, connecting people through those networks rather than actually trying to do it in person, like we were thinking more with the pilot projects. Just because that way, after there's some communities that have built it and you can feel the market transitions within those small sectors, it can start to be found in one area and then the next area and the next area and then build from there using some examples that have been fostered in these other communities. Yeah.
Do you imagine people sharing, let's say out on their own social media platforms, how lush their garden is and how happy the cat is? Like, is that a thing that you talked about?
We didn't really talk about that in all honesty. We didn't conceptualize the garden as, you know, this platform that people were going to like flex with.
Right.
We were hoping it would be more of a personal kind of goal and aspiration that then they would like collaborate with friends, like you could in like app like My City Monsters, you could trade things between other people's islands. Until I play that. We were hoping for kind of the same. And maybe there would be some that are very lush, but it's really more to bring in person by person for something that they can touch on, rather than, you know, showcase to all of their friends.
Right. Thanks.
Are there any other questions? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're set for a 20-minute break.
I'm the pre-med guy.
We hope you enjoyed your break. The fourth team to present today, discussing healthy, sustainable living in Utopia.
Okay.
Their presenter is Wesley Lewis.
Hello.
Hello.
In a world where environmental challenges are driving the need for innovative and creative solutions, we question, what are some deep-rooted problems we can solve for our community? How can we make an impact? Well, limitations around the world pertaining to resources, it varies. But when it comes to quality and availability of food, we want to stress that it's something that we need to work on. So amidst the profound impacts of global warming, the challenge is only going to continue unless action is taken. So our team's comprised of individuals from diverse backgrounds who relate to the common problem today. Our personal goal was to make a product that would truly benefit our family and neighborhoods. Through this experience of thinking outside the box and learning new concepts, we've ultimately grown as a team and expanded our skill sets. But in doing so, we've understood we've barely scratched the surface and we're eager to learn more. We're a team of 4 engineers from aerospace and mechanical. It is important for us to step out our comfort zone and learn more. So these are the 4 different locations we have to account for: Arusha, Tanzania; Hanoi, Vietnam; Doha, Qatar; and Chicago. So throughout this presentation, I can get this right. We'll explore innovative and sustainable solutions to improving food quality, availability, and costs. We'll understand the reasoning behind our design and our approach to making a meaningful impact. Through this journey, we will delve into a commercial product and understand the impact to change the world one step at a time. So I want to start with quality. When we talk about food quality, we'll understand that our food is nutritious. Our vegetables are in shape, it's not wilting, it's something that we can eat and we get that sustenance. Availability, we want to make sure that our food is available. In many communities, fresh food is not always available, and it's something that we need to understand. Costs. We need to understand if we assist the supply chain, we can lower down the costs. And if people can produce plants at home, it's something that benefits them as well. So this is what we decided to do. Aeroponics. Aeroponics meets the three needs of those three objectives. So the way it works is the reservoir at the bottom, with the pump, it shoots up to the top and it takes into the second reservoir. It flows down and it is able to incorporate the roots. This gives us the nutrients, the air, and pretty much it's a sustainable part of the plant. So aeroponics system, you have conserved resources. We have water, land, electricity, and time. For water, you don't have to water it as much. This system runs about 24 times a day for 15 minutes. So you're not really watering it, it's contained. And if we were to put in the scale and a metric of this room, this whole room being a farm, we would only need 5% of space to account for that many plants. So electricity is not running throughout the day. It's very efficient in time. It's the difference between 30 minutes a week working on your farm and 6 hours a week working on your farm. And also we have a survey response. I'll go back to it. Our service response is what we did throughout this presentation. Well, throughout the Bronco Challenge, 79.1% wanted more quality foods, vegetables. 58.2% said availability is enough. 75.6% would choose alternative options to traditional farming that would allow them to have cost-effective produce. Also, these results can be found on our website, projectvinci.net, on May 15th. And for this survey response, 84.4% prefer home gardening to supplement 9 meals or more per week. So throughout this process, we have to do some preliminary innovations. This is our nursery. And the nursery, it is geared towards providing plants for aeroponic systems. Aeroponic systems, or plants in aeroponic systems, they need to be trained in a way that we have to build something. So as we were building this, we realized that we're building a product more than a simple solution. So we decided to go with something more friendly. This is at the sustainability office. To the left, you can see that is our germination chamber. It gets from seeds to the little sprouts. To the right is our cultivation chamber. So those sprouts to a viable plant for our aeroponic systems. We also have to understand copia. Now, the reason behind copia is imagine a cornucopia that you can pick from your tower with high quality, healthy foods. So to the left, you see there's more material, right? We want to innovate that and make sure that we can lower material costs. We also need to understand, hey, all material is not the safest. We need to understand there's microplastics in here. So these are the iterations from the left to the right. Now, the right being for the outdoor model that you can see over here, is geared toward the outdoor model because it's smaller. It's a 2-inch diameter versus the indoor, it's 3 inches. Another preliminary innovation for manufacturing, we need to make sure that our rigs were good. So getting the holes right, the dimensions, making sure it's evenly spaced. If it's not evenly spaced, it messes up with the flow in our aeroponic system. That's inefficiency. That's not what we want. In the back, you'll see it is a way to separate it at equal lengths so we can still get that efficiency. A benchmark for efficiency and safety, these are some of the metrics that we use to make sure that our system was running optimally. So success rate. Success rate is a function of how quality the seeds are, and it is the conditions of our nursery. If our nurseries are running at optimal conditions, then we can predict this. Our germination yield. So yield is what we actually get. And the same thing goes for nursery success rate and nursery yield. Now, the reason why success rate is 80% and the yield is 90%, we plant 2 seeds at a time. We want to make sure that if we're planting this in different parts of the world or the 4 locations that we're looking for, hey, we can boost our efficiency and make sure that our aeroponic systems can get the produce. Now, microbial stages. We are making an ideal environment. It's warm, it's moist. A lot of things are going to grow in this. 1 is the optimal stage. Everything's running good. 2, something is algae, mold. It's not what we want. 3, we're tossing it out. We need to make sure this is healthy and people can eat this. 4, something went catastrophically wrong. That's something that we need to make sure is never going to happen, but it's something that we need to understand because if we're making a system and we're building these nurseries, hey, something is going to go wrong. We need to understand that. If it's in different parts of the world, a lot of people might not have the resources or knowledge to be able to combat that. So for us to implement in our design, we were able to build more sufficient models to help people, to make an impact. So these are our models, a quick animation. So to the left, you can see the outdoor model. The outdoor model is to scale as big as this cove right here. It is consisted of 4. We'll dive into that a little bit more. And the indoor model has an enclosure. So if it's in your house, you're not blinded with light for 24 hours a day. You want to sleep. So you have an indoor system. This is a nice render of type 1 indoor system where it caters to 12 different copias, 12 different plants that you can grow. And you can see the lights are attached. It's more of an open model because some people want an open field. They don't want their plants to be continuously enclosed. They want to see that. Right? So this is specifications. Specifications, we have 30 plants. That's the max one. That's not the one that we just saw. Type 1 has 12 plants. Type 2 has 32. 2 by 2 by 6.5. And it's a nice addition of the home. Now, what we want to stress is if people want an aeroponic system for the house, we have to understand that there's a design capability that we want. What we see for indoor aeroponic systems, they're trying to drive luxury. Hey, this looks nice. This is a nice addition. It's a piece of art in my house. We want to do that as well, but we also want to make sure functionality is right. So we've taken in that into account, and we did a render to see how does this look in my environment, my house, my bedroom, specifically my dorm. We all are living in a dorm, so it's good to understand, hey, we can have this when prices get too high for food. And again, our survey response, 66.3% are concerned with microplastics. Think about all the microplastics that are introduced in your food from seed to the dinner table. And this is what our first prototype was. You can see in the copias, substrate that keeps the roots intact. Throughout this whole process, we've learned more about our systems and hey, we need more testing. But for this top right, this is what we have in the sustainability office. These systems, well, this right here, tomorrow will be in our indoor systems. Not this particularly, our prototype, second prototype for this aeroponic system. This is the outdoor system, as we saw before. It has a main reservoir, a sub-reservoir, and this is the pump system. So if you saw from that animation, it flows a lot. So again, we can see type 2, type 3, and type 4. It can hold up to 144 plants and 36 per type 1. That is the single stage. So if we look over here, there's a cross section. It is a simple configuration where you can use it universally. So you know the 5-gallon barrels that you get for the water coolers, we wanted to make sure that if this is seen throughout the world, anyone can pick up that 5-gallon barrel and use it for the aeroponic system. And again, my favorite thing about both aeroponic system is the automation, right? If you want to have control of your farm or plants that you grow, you want to automate this in a certain way that you can control that. So as you can see from our app, depending if it's sunny for the outdoor model, if it's, good conditions, you can get this amount of efficiency, 82% optimized. If you don't want that, you can also do different cycles. The idle cycle just runs all the time. Purge cycle, hey, there's contamination. Let me purge this system. And you can also choose the cilantro, well, you also can choose the plants cater to your aeroponic system. Not all plants want the same conditions. To the right, you can see recipes. Now, we thought that if we're building these systems, people are going to want to connect about it. With this app, you're able to calculate your yield. So I'm growing basil, I have 32 plants. What can I make with that? You can make this. This is a render of our outdoor model. Again, it's versatile. This is supposed to be a rooftop. It's made of wood, but ideally it's a city rooftop. You can use this in rural areas and you can use this all over the place, honestly. Again, 66% are concerned of non-organic/GMOs. If you were to have these aeroponic systems, it allows you to control what food or vegetation you're getting. And these are our models. not our higher models, so our initial models that we're using right now for the plants that we're going from the sustainability office. And yeah, looking at the outdoor model compared to the farm in the back, you can see, hey, there's a difference. There's more efficiency. It's contained. I'm conserving resources. And that's something that we need to understand if we want to make the impact that we really want to across the world. So let's talk about our business model, the cost. For the indoor system, it is indoor system, it is 400. It is not it's not the highest on the market. And actually, it's more efficient with the products, manufacturing that we use. Our go-to-market plan, let me roll back, I'm going a little bit too fast. So our outdoor model, we have the single is 600 and our full type 4 outdoor model is 1500. Our go-to-market plan is to iterate some more. We're in the prototype phase. We need to have a good product that we can send out. We know that we're able to automate it and we know that we can get good yield from it. Go-to-market plan, do more testing, do more analytics, and we want to approach marketing. For this presentation, we tried to do more rendering. We knew marketing was going to be a problem for us. So understanding that, we can make that impact and get into marketing. We want scalability. As you see, scalability, you can go from type 1 to type 2 or type 1 to type 4 with the respective models. Testing. Using the app, you're able to calculate your yield, and that information comes to our main service to say, hey, this product is not working well, or this product is working well. Our product design is something we want to expand on. It's what we've had fun with, actually, understanding what's the look and feel of a good quality product, right? Manufacturing. Manufacturing is important because we want to have high margins. If we were to boost manufacturing, if we were to boost our efficiency in producing products, then we're able to have higher margins. And yeah, so sustainability, you need to understand the materials that we're using. Right now, we're using PVC pipe. We want to strain away from PVC pipe because it's resilient. It's used in 60% of all plumbing applications, but we want to make sure that it's good, it's clean. And our vision is for this to be an appliance that goes in hand with your refrigerator. Just like 3D printing in 2013, we want this to be the next thing that's in your house. So the impact of Copia is to provide the world with sustainable and healthy, high quality food with a light for Copias. Thank you. Okay.
Question?
Take a few minutes to digest all of that.
Question.
Yes.
You mentioned when you talked about your pricing strategy, you mentioned your competition,
Yes.
right? Other products like this where consumers can grow their own food at home. Who are your competition and how do you plan to differentiate yourselves?
So to competition, if we were thinking about getting to vertical farming, it's really weird in the market right now. It's very dynamic. For example, Aero Farms. Aero Farms is this large industrial indoor farming, and it just it's not doing so well. And I think throwing capital at the problem is not going to work. Understanding marketing and our price models, that will work. In terms of the home aeroponic systems, we see that we're meeting the need to make a profit off of it. We're saying that they cost more. Some of the models, they're desktop models for a kitchen, but in terms of making sure that we are good for selling, we need to make sure that, hey, we're reaching, I'm running too fast, but for these products, we just want to make sure that we have our margins. Yeah, sorry, I messed up your question, but.
Yeah, I still don't understand your point of differentiation. How is this product different from other home growing kits that are available on the market?
So it's different because it's automated. Now everything is automated, but you have more control. We're looking for the consumer appeal, not just like luxurious, we're looking for functionality. So it's not just this piece of art that you can put in the corner of your room. It's also something that gives you plants. Now, for the appeal is we're trying to scale this up even more. We're not offering just this one-time solution. So based on your needs, if you're living in a studio apartment to a dorm room to even a house, you can have the option that you really want. So customability or, those features, yeah. Yes.
So you mentioned that this is really aimed at those who don't really have availability to good quality food, right?
Yes.
But then you said the lowest end price point was $400. That seems like that might be a little steep for some. And I know eventually they're going to spend that on food, but a lot of people that are living paycheck to paycheck, that might be a little steep. Did you have any thoughts on that?
It is pretty steep, but it is also $150 lower than competitors that are offering these products.
But it still might not be available to
Yeah.
a segment.
Yeah, we understand that. And the thing is, through prototyping, because we're still in our prototyping phase, we want to get the margins lower. Again, with manufacturing and boosting our production efficiency, we can definitely meet that. But in terms of the competition, we're $150 lower. We can increase that even more if we'd like to, or in the future we could, yeah.
Did you consider financing options?
Financing, so in terms of helping people purchase the products, yes, we're interested, and that's a good question. We would like to expand on that. So in terms of financing, we see that there's a lot of programs that are helpful for grants, and we're trying to see if maybe that's a grant possibility, but again, that's a good question. We need to expand on a little bit more.
Sorry, I cut you off.
What about,
Oh, no, sorry.
what about like an option, okay, I buy a $400 unit, I can afford that if I'm buying it, right? That would say, okay, so donate a percentage of that to like a farm to table charity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a possibility for financing, yeah. Something we need to consider. Yes.
So I kind of look at it, I like the idea and everything. What if I want to grow, like you said, I think cilantro and basil, do they take the same amount of water or not?
They do not.
They do not. So if I have a unit like this, I can only grow the same type of plant?
Not necessarily. So it's very diverse in the plants that you want to grow. So indoor is more catered to if you want to grow that particular thing, but I'm assuming you're talking about the outdoor model, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
For the outdoor model, you can grow to scale. So you can scale up those the cilantro plants per copia.
Yeah, because you grow that much cilantro, you're feeding everybody.
Yes.
It would be nice if using the outdoor model to provide for farmers markets. Last year, I went to the farmers market and I saw that it was this open community where people were coming in, selling, and talking about plants. I think that if we were to able to use this as a viable option for not only pantries but farmers markets, I think it would be great.
One follow-up comment.
Yes.
Another right turn. So I love the idea of benchmarking. Who'd you benchmark against? Did you threw up the benchmark, you had your table there?
Benchmark?
Yeah. So were you benchmarking against others or was that just against yourself?
Oh, for the metrics of,
yeah,
that's against ourselves. We noticed in the first time we did germination, it was not how we wanted. And we need to understand how can we make this more efficient.
Okay.
We also want to understand that, again, we're looking for it to be in different locations. That benchmark is based off of high success rates.
Okay.
So that's our metric.
Can I clarify his question? So you can only grow one thing per unit. Like if it's cilantro, it's cilantro. If it's basil, or tomatoes or whatever.
Not necessarily per unit, per copia. So let's say,
And the difference.
what was that?
What's the difference between like the unit and the copia?
Oh, the copia is this small section inside. So if you want to grow basil, or let's say cilantro, sage, arugula, kale, but with regard to the parameters of that particular plant, because you can't necessarily, grow pumpkins and kale in the same system. So it's understanding that.
Would the app help with that?
Yes, that's why at the bottom, you can choose which plant that you want, and it fines tune the aeroponic system for that particular plant. Or you can also double up.
But like say within that column right there, I could
Yes.
have potentially 3 things if they were compatible.
Yes.
Do you imagine starting from seed in the copia? Can you do that now, or is that in the future? Or do you imagine starting seeds separately and then adding in?
That's in the future. That's what we're trying to work on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you sell the seeds? Is that part of your?
No, it's not part of it. And we thought it was interesting that most aeroponic units do not sell the seed. And this is playing into the amount of time that they have to spend on it as well. So a viable option is providing a particular plant just for them to put into their systems. Again, working with many distributors such as Walmart, Myers, getting it to commercial markets, we can do that.
So your target market is consumers, right? Have you considered speaking with like industry, like maybe small farmers or community gardens or something like that?
Yes.
Okay. So you could see that scaled up in like a shipping container or something.
Yeah. For the smaller, I guess, small farms, we're looking to target greenhouses. So the greenhouse right by the Kalamazoo Farmers Market, we're looking to work with them. So it's one of the things. Yes.
See added expense in the light and the water and et cetera, expense and or carbon footprint.
Carbon footprint. So we have about, for the pump, it's only running 4 times a day. I can't give you an actual particular estimate on it, but it's pretty efficient in that sense. You know? So it's not too much waste.
What about the lights? Didn't you say that they all had to have lights?
Not all of them. So the outdoor does not have to have lights, but the indoor does. Yes.
So, but the plants then have to be agreeable with whatever climate you're in, right?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Do you anticipate integration with, I mean, I'm looking at the app there, it says 82% optimal sunny, and then there's, is that a dollar figure there?
Yeah.
So I'm trying, like, would the app then, would it tie in with weather if you're growing outside? Would it key in as to what you need in terms of UV light? Like,
So
how's the app assisting with the growing?
yes, the app is assisting with automation, so you can see that, hey, my system is optimized based on the weather conditions. The dollar sign represents this much yield that you have. So ideally, we want to estimate how many plants are optimal to sell, and that's that particular figure right now.
Now, this would all be modular, right? I'm gathering, you're selling individual components, it'd probably be a kit that you would buy, but then you could add on and design your own system, so to speak.
Yep. So we're going for that Lego feel. We love Legos, so something we want to do.